I present to the Fellyph Cintra. He's a front-end developer and he lives in Ireland and works at Deloitte Digital. Okay. Today he will speak using machine learning to improve our WordPress application. An applause, please. Good luck.
I don't know if I have this way to walk. Probably the camera will be crazy because I will walk a lot, but I will try to be here. Just to give my background, I'm from Brazil, and I understand a little bit of Spanish, but I don't have the confidence to speak Spanish, and also my talk will confuse about the Portuguese and Spanish as well. But I can speak slowly if it's okay. My history with WordPress started like 2008 when I created my first blog, and since there I have been working with WordPress. I created the first WordPress course in São Paulo. I'm originally from the north of Brazil, but I moved to São Paulo like 2009, and there I have created the first WordPress course there. And later, I was a WordCamp organizer in São Paulo. The WordCamp São Paulo is like 700 people. It's like a huge city. And 4 years ago, I moved to Ireland when I was just traveling, and one conference was in Belfast. I did a talk there. I was a volunteer, and I just replaced a talk about SEO. And when I did that talk, I got the job in Ireland. It was like totally accidentally. I was like traveling, and I replaced a speaker, and after I end up like living in Ireland. That's why I'm there. Like it wasn't about the weather. Yeah. Yeah, I can speak that. And it wasn't about the weather or the food. It was just because I was around Europe, and I got the opportunity there. And this talk, it is an introduction. I will show a few videos. The middle of the last year, I just decided to study again artificial intelligence. And when I got that library, that's a really high-level library. And also, now I'm a front-end dev, and we have TensorFlow.js. Is it okay? No. And now we have like TensorFlow.js that makes like we use machine learning on the browser. So first, like artificial intelligence. Now, when I was at the college, artificial intelligence was something really scary. That when I mean college was like 2006, right? And like I have like a 15 years old daughter now. Like I'm not so young, but what came to my mind was that image, like artificial intelligence, like robots, like conquer the world, take over everything. When create code that it's able to take their decisions and to the computer, take a decision without being explicit. And who create that is a writer about like artificial intelligence. And just for you guess, like, do you know when the people create that phrase? Like that guy Arthur, the year doing? Can you imagine which year they write that? One guess? Yeah, 60s. So this is like 1959. That's a really old like concept. The idea. It is really old, but we just have the power now. For example, machine learning on JavaScript is just possible because we have the ability to run the GPU. So everything that is processed on JavaScript, it is over the GPU. And the font's not working, but it will be fine. So in a normal computation, we are like that's the way that we call like explicit. Well, you just gave the row. That is like 200 pixels, and that's greater will be right, and the smaller it's left. We just get the data, pass to that conditional, and you get the results, right and left. That's fine. That's the way that we're coding like normally. And with like artificial intelligence, it is module, do the training, and the process it's like that. Like with JavaScript, I can make that visual. When I click on my screen, I just pass the X value. Greater than my left side on my screen, that is left. And after that, when I do the training, the model will do the classification, and they will say like, oh, I'm 7% sure that that's that's the way that Facebook divide us now. Left and right. We start being like extremely because we are in that bubble. We just get like labels. But when we start getting label, the information that they push us start make us more or one stream side or another stream side. And that's more complex about that. But that's just one information and one label. And the process is not magic. There is no terminator there. It's that information, and we're going to train that information. And that process to train, we can define like, oh, do that training 200 times, 100 times. And every single time that we get the information sent to our module, they will train, and they will check the result. If the result is like, if our neural network is like, it's sure that, okay, I'm confident that because I sent 200 values, and I was like 100% sure, or I was like 99% sure, and I can go forward and classify other type of content. And when our module is ready, we start classifying that information. When 2006, when I started to look for that, like wasn't like bubbles like train, classify, data, done, magic. No, we have to configure like set up like Python, have a special program for that, and understand like neural networks. And when I was in the middle of that, I was like, okay, I'm done. No, I prefer to do JavaScript, query selector, themes, and I will be happy. But this year, I discovered a library that just abstract this whole environment, and just for me it's like machine learning. I just get the data, send the data, train, and get time that I have something really done, that I just got something and make something really working. And ML5, it is a library with JavaScript. I have done this talk before, and some people say, oh, but I'm not a JavaScript dev. How can I do? So there are like Python, there are like backend language that we can do. You can do with cloud as well. You can do that type of training on the cloud. You just like send folders. For example, Google Cloud, you have the ability to do that. We just send folder and put the name of the folder, the label that you want to like classify that information, and after you run the training. But for me, JavaScript was the entry point. I'm a front-end dev. And the description for that library is a friendly machine learning for the web. Like, it's really friendly. TensorFlow. So TensorFlow.js, it is a machine learning library that was written in C# and after Python. And later, they transpiled to JavaScript. And over TensorFlow, they build that layer that's more abstracted. We just do functions like training, classify, get my data, that's the source. And an example, for example, that example, they updated like last year. Now it's possible to export a module. Who knows that website? No? Okay, perfect. It is an application that you can train your data on the web. You just go to the browser, log in there, start like take pictures for anything, and after you send the information with pictures or voice as well, there's a chance for you send voice. You can just make a speech, for example, hey Google, or hey WordPress, hey my website, and the module will identify that you're saying that the phrase, or, for example, you can play an instrument, like a guitar, and they will identify as a guitar. If you send different notes for guitar or accordion, you can send like 2 labels, and they will train and you identify that. And that's the address, Teachable Machine Learn with Google. And there, that's the process. That was when I was going to Galway, and I was in the train, and I just discovered that they have a new version. I just, okay, I need to record that. And here's my browser. I just create. At that moment, we're going to run the training process. And when we train that, we're going to have a module that is just like a decision maker that we can use to classify. So I was with the phone. Even when I was with the phone, like pixels. The process to do a classification, it is math. Everything is math. They just break our image in small slices, and they convert in a number. So let's think that we break a square, and we start to identify those squares, but we just identify those squares by number. And it's not because I identify I. There is a math that will define, oh, that block, always I will call 3. And the process that do the training is like, if I use that number for 3 and I pass other information, if I get the right result, okay, that block will be 3. And when we do the training for the convolution process, that block, if that block doesn't match, I will kind of tune to another number. And that number, if I do the mathematics again, and for example, if I use 5 for that pixel and works, okay, that's my right number to use. That's a process to train. Everything's math behind. And that's why, imagine, because if we send like 100 images and we get like the information for pixels, like it will be like huge. Like if I send like 200 megabytes of image and compare those 200 megabytes, we're gonna have 400 megabytes. And so we need to reduce that to a small amount to do the calculation for them. And if you check in the end of that screenshot as well, we can have the code. So you can copy that code and post it. Possible with ML5. We can classify images. We can classify sounds. The left and right was released the end of the last year, like with ML5, but that was possible with TensorFlow before. So, and the left and right, I just send the X value that is like 200, it's a number, and the label is like left and right. But we can use different labels. A type of prediction, for example, it's going to rain or not. Ireland it's really common rain. Always, it's easy to predict that. But the numbers for I decide that it's going to rain or not, it is different values. It's not just one, like humidity or the wind. It's a combination of different values, and after that I get the prediction for that. So it's possible as well do with machine learning, where you create a prediction for rain or other kind of situations. And can we do that with ML5JS and WordPress? The answer is C. That's my Spanish. I use 30% of my Spanish now. So, and yes, it's possible, because you can do on the backend side and do that classification on the cloud. But for me, the process was on the front end. But you can check the GitHub as well and see the full code. But the idea is just pass the concept for that. And it's 5 steps, right? Simple 5 steps. Not so simple, because many people work to make that simple. And so you need to create a Gutenberg block, define the labels. For me, I have a store, and that store, I will classify products. I will show different products, and I will identify, and I will point to the page with the description. After that, when I decide the labels, I do the training process, and the training process can be the teachable machine. I can do the training process there on that website, and after just export. That is the next step. I export the module and use that on my Gutenberg block. The first moment that I did that, the process of training, I was doing on the back-end side. Inside my editor, when I was like, change the post, I was doing the training there. And I just used the webcam and did the train and saved my module inside the WordPress admin. And the code that I'm doing now, it is on my GitHub. I do the train on the teachable machine. On the teachable machine, I just point to the module that I export on the cloud before. I just point the address. I don't make the training over the editor. And after that, I just connect my module with my Gutenberg block. When I post something, I will read the webcam and I will do the test. So, translating that, let's coding. That's my favorite GIF. And that's my another 30% of Spanish. I don't know if that's right or not. Vamos pro is get the feature extractor. It is the guy that cat. Which feature is it used? Like you have like 4 like legs, you have the tail. One feature for cat. The tail, okay. The mustache, perfect. You can say in Spanish as well. We can create features in Spanish. Huh? The claws, okay. And okay, we got those features. And now, how can I differentiate like the tail, the mustache, and the claws from a cat and a tiger? The size, the leaf. So they're like, and those kind of conditions, they are layers that we are creating. So the feature extractor, there are like now 3 types. The neural network that we do the training with the image. There is another one that is KNN. And for that example, I use like a big one, but it's really heavy, but it's really precise. So for example, 2 labels, my like send any type of situation for my book, and I want to get the result from that. And that's really heavy. The idea is like if you are on the web, use something smaller, or create something native app like Ionic or something, just like save that. But it's after that, when I decide the classification process, I'd find the labels. That function to train will be a callback that will just send the results. I'll say, oh, I'm 50% confident that I have the right result. When I got the like 99%, the training, I can say, okay, it's done, stop like training. And after that, when everything's ready, I just say, okay, now you start to classify that data. So when I send that information, given the label that you take from that. That's my anytime. It's not like a specific like place that I will do that. And when we got the result, the process, I can define the level of confidence. Find my bug. Was something based on like Vivino, but it's like different. It's just like a POC, just say, oh, that's work. I read like 3 bugs, and when I show those 3 bugs, I will send the link to buy it. And the text is really small there, but that's the level of confidence that we got. Right? And that was like my first like try, but it's possible like we do different things. For example, if I wanna do a speech, for example, oh, I wanna do something with accessibility, for example. When I say I wanna comment, I can show a pop-up and say, oh, do you wanna like do a speech, like use your voice to create a comment? Like we can do that because we can recognize like speech. For example, I can trigger a function to read when the user like start to speak that. It's something that we can use. We have examples like we can do like games, like other things that I was trying to do was like games, like playing with like my left and right, like, and there are examples as well that we can control. Inside Teachable Machine, there is like some examples, and one is like you can control the Pac-Man, and you can create like movements that you just like create like left and right, top and bottom, and you can just control. It is an example. The posture, you can also check the posture and do the training like with posture and read that. So that's just the beginning. Like the motivation that I did that is just because if you go back here, they're really straightforward. Like there is no tensors, there is no like neural network, and for me, that level gave me the confidence to make something work. And after that, I start to read about, oh, what is like level of confidence? Why there was why I need to train that 200 times? What is epoch? Like there is some terms that at the beginning was like, okay, something there. And after I do the opposite way, I just like go there and start to understand that. So it's, for me, it was really easy to go in that direction, have something working, and after, okay, I will go deeper there, and I will try to understand what is a neuron, how can I build a neuron, when if you are not on, like, my opinion, you can have, but in my opinion, for example, I'm a front end. I have to do my daily work job that is like front end stuff. I don't have the time to spend 8 hours trying to understand what is a neural network. And for after 2 weeks later, do a classification with my one neural network. That thing just make me like, okay, understand how I can make that, and after I start to think about, and after I start to ask why, and when I have the why, I start to understand more. I say, oh, maybe I can use that part to go in that direction, or maybe I can classify a product, or maybe I can do a usability test, check if the user are going to the right side, or if they are clicking the right place. And there are other examples that people track the user to do accessibility and usability tests. If your application is clear or not, to just track the mouse and see how the users like interact with your. So I have like a few examples, but like the other one is, for example, it is inside the backend. I can read my content, and based on the content that are written before, I start to suggest tags. So I have another guy that starts to suggest tags for me. For example, I just read my 400 posts, and they will check the content and the tags. And when I do the training, after when I start writing like new posts, based on that text, I can start to suggest like tags. For example, when I finish, I just ask, oh, can you suggest me tags? And I just get some tags based on me, based on what I used before. But that's the important thing as well about machine learning. The whole information, the bias, will be the bias that you give to them, right? For example, the test with the book, for example, coding, not coding. I have like dark skin. So if I start like showing just dark skin pictures, if someone that has like a white skin, use the coffee, the data won't work because I'm strictly just one bias. So in that case, that's why it's so important. Also, we have like diversity over that information. Sometimes the people just like white users just create something for like with white examples, when like someone with a dark skin will do something won't work, or the bias for the speech, for example, we start just use one type of data, for example, me as a source data. Maybe someone that has a different opinion than me won't get the right result because I'm not giving them like the right amount of information. So, but that's like other things that we can do. That's just an introduction. There are like other ways to do it, but just that the idea for that talk is just like open like what we can do. Just we can like go outside as well. And really, really big. There is another example that is Canadian that it uses a different like kind of classification that we can do as well. And also there are like other libraries as well. Just ML5 is just one. There are like other libraries that are based on TensorFlow. So that was like one external library. And text recognition. It is a spec for the browse came out of the box with those classifications. For example, you can call like recognition.api find a face. That will be native from the browse. There is no need for extra libraries. We can do just with the native browse. that is the spec on W3C. You can read that. It is a draft. There are like still having discussions over that. That's the link for the spec. But later, I will just share my slides on. I will just use the hashtag for the event, and you can get it there as well. Find face. And I think that's like my first introduction. The steps, again, just remind the steps. We need the data, the classification, and you need to define what's the feature and the source. For example, the source that I used for my product was the webcam. But the source can be an image. I can just like send an image, upload an image, and do that classification with like just upload an image. Or I can use the microphone or other source, right? And those are the links. The Gutenberg block using ML5, that's the GitHub that I have. This is a JavaScript library that's just write the whole complex about create some elements. For example, use the webcam with P5, just like get the video. It's more like high-level language. And another source that I use it is a YouTube channel. It's called Coding Train. Coding Train, it is a teacher that like does some experiments and also they have a course for TensorFlow, how to create your one neural network, and also they have a course, like an ML5 course as well. The YouTube channel is like Coding Train, right? I think that's it. And first, my last word in Spanish, like gracias. Thank you so much for like accept my talk. I think that in Spain, I have trained, I think, 4 times send a talk, and I always say, oh, we don't accept like talks in English or like, or it's too advanced. But it is nice because I'm trying. 1 year I try to come here like and share something, and I'm so happy to be here. I think it's my, I don't know, more than 25 WordCamps like since like 2013 that I'm doing or around like South American here. Today I just came with a special guest. My daughter just was traveling with me. It's our first WordCamp together. That's really meaningful as well. So I think that's it. Like, thank you so much. And I think now it's time for questions if you have questions. Or you can do a question in Spanish as well. I can try to answer those.
So in the example that you showed us in the Gutenberg block, at some point I remember that you were holding no books and it was still showing like the link for a book. So my question would be, how much confidence do you need? Like how much level of confidence do you need to be confident enough about something?
So the training was that like, was the tweak that I was doing before I told you like 85%? 85% is not like, it's not a good example. And even the Martian, it is a face. And that's why I use the Martian, because it's a face. And I was like trying to differentiate, so like when I have no book and when I have a book. And that was a level that when I put like 85 sometimes when I was like moving, my module was thinking that I was holding the Martian. And so the process for that is like the amount of like data that you send. So for those items, I send like 100 images. And for example, when Vivino, let's say one app, like they have like millions of users, and those millions like send millions of images, and you have like a data set for millions of examples. And when you send more data, more exactly you get your module. That's why, like I was like really testing and training was just to show that's possible. Yeah. So more questions?
Any question?
I think that's it.
Finish it. Okay, thank you. And
Thank you
applause,
so
please.
much.